Broucaret.
Hi, I'm back again to teach you a little bit about the roses. The reason I like to do things with the roses is this is San Francisco, and as a rule, San Francisco is not a place to grow roses. So quite a few years ago, I decided I wanted to grow a rose bed at City College to show you that you can grow roses, but they're not always going to be beautiful. So you will know right off the bat that in the spring, your first crop will be beautiful. Maybe even the second. But once you get into the summer, they get worse and worse. And you can see right here a good example. You get a lot of rust, yellow leaves, and these are from rust and diseases because we have the fog. And you know, if you would go up in the valley, you never see these diseases hardly. Also, I didn't do it here, but some of our clients, we put in the varieties the least susceptible. If you want to have clean-looking roses, you can't just go by color and the size of the flower. You got to find out which ones do better in San Francisco. And my recommendation is to get a copy of the San Francisco Rose Society's book and look at all forget everything and just look by the numbers, the ones that are the least susceptible. And then through that list, pick your colors and whatever you want. And then talk to other rosarians and people that grow roses. And in San Francisco, we have microclimates, so maybe they're going to grow in your neighbor's yard, but they won't grow in your yard. So we've had people look, you know, right now, our bed doesn't look too well. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and we're not working on them as we did. When we had class, every week we would have some students working on the roses, taking the bad leaves off. We don't spray them. We try and do it without spraying. The only thing that we do is put things in the ground. And I have a little program that I learned years ago, and we've used it here, and I've used it on many of our clients. And that is when the roses are all pruned back during the winter, they're just a bunch of sticks. And then in February, we mulch them with manure, cow manure. And that's mostly for bacteria. It's not really a fertilizer. And then that's in 1 week. The second week, we would go to a material called Rose Systemic. And it's got an insecticide in it and a fertilizer. But you put it in the ground and water it in. Then the next week, we decided, we found out we put Epsom salts. And Epsom salts got magnesium in it and metals, and it seems to do a good job. And my wife used to always go to Safeway to buy Epsom salt, and go to the same checker, and the lady says, "What are you using all this Epsom salts for? You got bad feet or something, the whole family, or what?" You know, my wife said, no, we use it in the garden. And it just shook the lady up. But, you know, people use it for foot baths and things like that. But we use it in the roses. And then the next week, we would come in with a thing called liquid fertilizer. The one we use called Grow, 10-10-5. 10 nitrogen, 10 phosphorus, and potassium is 5. Okay? And then the fourth week, it'll come in a same blue container, and it's called Bloom. And that's a 0-10-10. So no nitrogen. It does have phosphorus and potassium. And we do this every week. And if you have a fifth week, I like to give them liquid iron. I stuck this in on my own, and liquid iron helps to keep them very green, you know. And so anyway, you start this program and you end it at the end of October. So you let the roses go dormant. I believe in a more of a natural way at the end of the year. Same with lawns. I don't like to fertilize them during the winter. They don't green up then, but you let them build up in their root system. They get strong. They got strong roots, and then in the spring they got a lot to come back. But if you keep pumping them up with nitrogen, they'll keep going. Okay, so that's what we do, and we just put all these materials on more or less by directions. This one wouldn't tell you, but we just take like a handful and just sprinkle it all around, kind of the drip line. You know, don't go in right on the trunk. A lot of people fertilize at the trunk. Very wrong. You know, you stay at the drip line and put a ring of fertilizer or the rose systemic, whatever, and then all of these should be watered in. And whenever you use the liquids, the ground should be wet and ready. So maybe the day before, water, and then you put it in. Because if you put this stuff on dry ground, you just wet the ground. There's no way for the plant to start to take it up. So roses like a lot of water. They like it well drained, and that's why I like working in San Francisco. Most of it is sand, and all you have to do is add these things to sand, and the plants can take them up. When you're in clay, you have to be a better gardener. Figure how much water to put on, when it dried out enough, and so on. Okay, so for the roses, that was that part of it. And then the next part Thomas and I wanted to tell you about was pruning. And when you we're gonna be doing the lecture actually backwards, because these roses are all growing now, and this happens to be October. So what you do at this time of the year is you gave me your pair, Thomas, and
Yeah.
they're all stuck.
They're all sticky and stuck up again, huh?
Yeah.
Go, time for more
I
WD-40.
think I got another pair of mine in
Let's
here.
see what we got in here.
Let's see.
It's
My
the secret
salt.
stash.
I should have a pair of pruners. There they are.
Gus, you gotta put your hat on too? It's getting sunny.
Nah.
Not today.
Okay. But see, Thomas's pruners, he doesn't take care of them. And I do, but my tools are still, my lady friend, Opal, her tools are #1. The day that she uses them, she brings them home and she cleans them all off, puts oil on them. They look like brand new yet. You know, mine, I'm like a regular gardener. I'm kind of abusive. But if you take good care of your pruners, these are called Felco. For my money, they're the best. Now, these are Felco tubes. They make some different numbers, and if you're a woman, or usually it's women, not men, the hand is a little smaller. They make a little bit smaller. Don't get the real small pair, but you know, I almost have a hand small enough that I can use a smaller pair. I just, when they're open, I just got enough. But if you just your tips are holding, you'd be better off with a little smaller pair. All the pieces can be replaced. So that if you take care of them, they should last you almost a lifetime. Unless you're like Thomas and leave them out and get rusty and lose them, you know. But so that's the Felco, and this is what I use for pruning. And if the canes is what we call the branches on a rose, they're called canes. And you can see what they look like. And if they're too big for your hand, don't start pruning them, you know, like this. A lot of people get a hold of them and they start cranking away. You don't do that. You're going to ruin the pruners, ruin the plant. Then get a good pair of loppers. And you got a lot of leverage, and you can cut. And it got the same action as your pruners. They're both identical. Okay? And again, just because they're loppers, you take care of them and they'll last forever. If you start cutting wire and cutting metal with them, you're going to ruin them. Okay? These are pretty long. They make some a little longer. They make some shorter. You know, so it depends what you're going to. I wouldn't get anything any bigger than this. And then the next thing that I use is a little folding saw. And a lot of times, you can see it's got the saber teeth, and you keep it clean. Don't ever put it in the dirt or soil. Don't go below the ground. And if you have to cut off the cane, you could just cut with just part of the saw, even just like that. And so when I prune roses at the end of the year, that's what I use. These 3 tools right there.
That's all you need, huh, Gus?
That's all
That's
you
it,
need.
huh?
You don't need anything else. Okay? So, why I said these are looking terrible at this time of the year, what I would do is prune this off like that. It's got a dead flower. This one here, you've got some new growth coming up here, so we can cut that one off like that. Okay? And so all the way around, here's another one that's dead. You could just cut that piece off. Where is it coming from? Right, like that. And so the rules of pruning are that a rose should be like a bowl. So there shouldn't be a lot in here. Open center, you know, and that is open center. But, and then what you're trying to do later on, when we do a heavy pruning, like I say, at the end of the year, you want to leave the strongest canes and maybe get rid of some of the old canes. And I'll give you an example of an old cane on this particular rose. If you can see over here, see this one here is black. Right there, one point. You could cut it right here.
Right there, huh?
Yeah. Or you could cut it off all the way down and get rid of it, because you still have this one to take its place.
They're kind of both going
Yeah.
in the same
So,
direction.
Yeah. You just take the one off, because what you're trying to get down to is only about 5 canes. That's it, off the base. 5 or 6, that's all you need. Because what you're trying to encourage is new growth coming out of the bottom. And so you can see my students have done a good job in the past. That's the only old cane on here. Most of these canes aren't over 3 years old. Like next year, I would probably take this whole piece off. You see, way down in here, and I would like this new one be the new cane on that side. Okay? So what you're doing is, it's not detective work, but it's kind of very precise. You don't just start whacking. You have to kind of look and see where the different canes are. And sometimes you leave an old one, like this one's kind of old, but we have nothing else coming out this side. You know, because we've cut this one off, but we're going to be leaving this one. Okay, and here you got a little one. We'll probably get rid of that. So you can just see down the bottom, there'll be 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we'll probably have about 5 when we get done. Okay? And